Now we are entering into a dashboard where we have already spent some amount of money in the past. So here we'll be eventually seeing how the dashboard eventually looks like when we already have some amount of data in our dashboard. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the custom date to all time. Here you can see that we have enough amount of money spent in a dashboard, which is 43,500 rupees, and we have an average CPC, which is cost per click, 32.62 rupees, and we also have impressions, which is 10,800 impressions, and we have also received 1,333 clicks. We'll go through each option one by one again to see how the option looks like once we have enough of data populated in our account. So this is the overview tab, as we have already learned. In this overview tab you can see all the data, which is the overview of the campaign, which will show you the data about all the campaigns. We can make the changes in this dashboard according to us. We can select here clicks and we can change it to cost. We can select here impressions. We can select any of the options which is already available to us. Generally we are required for these main options to see the overview performance of the campaign. The most important options we will always have is clicks, impressions, CPC and cost. Here if we go to the conversions, we can see that the amount of conversions we have generated, which is 3, and the amount of money we have spent per conversion is cost per conversion, which is 14,500. Also in this dashboard we can customize it according to our needs. We can change it to something else. Maybe if you want to see the average CPC, we can do the average CPC as well. If you want to put something else, you can put something else as well. For example, interactions. Interactions are generally nothing but the clicks. You can put something like CTR. If you want to put CTR, CTR is nothing but how many impressions we have received divided by the clicks in terms of the percentage, which is 12.36%, which is generally, for example, if you consider to calculate the CTR, if you have generated 1000 impressions and you received 100 clicks, the CTR is going to be 100. Just like that we calculate our click-through rate. You can remove it or you can select it to see the form in the graph as well. If you want to see the specific data in the graph, you can select it or you can remove it. You can play around with these options according to the data which you want to see, and you can set it up and you can just save it over here. So every time whenever you open this workspace, you will be able to see the data according to your needs. Now we move towards the recommendations part. As you can see here, we are not having any recommendations option because we are not running a campaign for a really long time. Once we start running the campaign, we'll start seeing all the data over here populated in terms of the recommendations. We'll be able to see all the recommendations which is given to us from the Google. Recommendations, again I'm going to explain, is recommendations is going to be the suggestions given to us by the Google. It's not hard and fast rule that you have to apply only this recommendation. It is not compulsory. It's completely your choice to decide if you want to apply these recommendations or not. There is no hard and fast rule that Google is going to penalize you, or maybe the campaign will not perform or campaign will perform. You have to strategize, you have to understand the basics which you will learn in this complete course. After that you're going to apply all those basics and see if you are using this recommendation suggestions given by the Google, will your campaign will eventually perform better or not. Then we have insights and reports. Compare to the account which we just saw, which was empty. Here if we go insights and reports, the first thing is insights. Insights will generally help us to know the information related to the market, how the market is performing and how your campaign is actually performing across the market. Initially it will create all the data, which is nothing but your interactions cost, average cost, interaction rate, which is nothing but your clicks, and click-through rate, which is generally the similar as you see in the overview tab. Insights will also hold data like how your keywords are performing, which types of keywords are actually performing good for you, which type of keywords are not performing good for you, what are the audience currently which we are actually interacting with your ad, what type of audience is actually not interacting with your ad. All these data will be visible to you. Insights will generally not help us to make any changes in our campaign or apply anything. It is just a quick tab in the data analysis form of all the whole sold data of our ad account and given to us in a specific tab that will help us to analyze that are we actually targeting the correct audience and we are moving towards the right direction or not. So insights will give us additional information about how the campaigns are performing, which you can see in your campaigns tab. Then we have auction insights. Auction Insights is generally a tab which will show you all the details about your competitor, where your website is actually ranking compared to your competitors. So when you talk about the website ranking in terms of your competitor, we have to look for three main options which you can see here. This is me. It is telling about my data, which is you, and the impression share, and the top of the page rate, absolute top of the page rate. Now let's just learn about what is an impression share, what is top of the page rate, and what is absolute top of the page rate. Why it's important for us to understand this data to eventually scale up our campaigns and see where we are lacking. Now we're gonna learn about this Auction Insights. What is Auction Insights and how it's helpful for us to scale up our campaign and also to understand how our campaign is actually performing. As you can see here, this is us, and these are all the different competitors who are running the ads around us. First thing which you notice is the impression share. First we have to understand what is the impression share. Whenever I'm going to write on Google digital marketing course in New York, let's assume this keyword volume for a day is 1000, which means 1000 people are searching digital marketing course in New York. Now assume that out of this 1000 times, only 100 times our ad was visible on the Google. Let's assume that our website is xyz.com, but if you can see right now, our website xyz.com is not visible under any of these sponsored ads, and not even at the bottom. Now that ads are being shown 10 times compared to 1000 times the people are searching on the Google. So in that scenario, what your impression share becomes is 10%. If you make it very much clear with an example, that the number of times you were eligible to show your ads on the Google, 1000 people are searching on the Google for digital marketing course. Out of that, only 100 times your ads was visible, which means that you are allowed to show your ads 1000 times, but your ads were only visible 100 times. Which means that if your ads was allowed to show on the Google at least 1000 times, your ads was only visible 100 times on the Google. In that scenario, your impression share becomes 10%. Let's assume if there were 500 people searching on digital marketing course in New York, and out of this 500 people, 250 times your ad was shown on Google search engine ranking page, which is SERP, then your impression share becomes 50%. So impression share generally is nothing but a percentage of how much times your ad was allowed to show on the Google, or you can simplify it better in such a way that how many people actually search for the keywords for which you are targeting, and you were also allowed to show your ads on the Google for those specific keywords, but due to some scenario your ad was not visible on the Google. Then how many number of times when your ad was shown actually on the Google is your impression share. With the impression share, we can figure it out that what is actually the volume right now for the people in the market, and how much amount of people we are able to cater using our ads. So here if you can see, the impression share is 15.34%, which means that I was allowed to show the ads to 100 people, but my ad was only visible to 15 people. That's why my impression share becomes 15%. Now there can be multiple reasons behind your impression share being low, or you're not able to gain 50, 80, 90 or even 100% impression share. See, one of the major reasons behind the low impression share is less budget. This low impression share also points towards increasing your budget. Okay, so whenever you see the impression share is really low, which means that your budget is actually really low, and you're not able to show the ads to the people who are actually searching for it, because you're able to consume your budget within the few hours. For example, that you are spending $1000 for your ad in a day, but let's assume that 10,000 people are searching in a day, and for each person, each click, the CPC is 10, and out of those 10,000 people, let's assume that even if 100 people are clicking on your ad, you are already going to spend your whole budget. Let's assume the 100 people clicked only within 500 impressions, which means that your impression share becomes 50%. So if you want to increase your impression share, you can increase your budget, which will help you to eventually show your ads to the more audience which is available right now in the market, and you will be able to increase your impression share and gain more traffic. Let's move towards top of the page rate. Now, what is top of the page rate and absolute top of the page rate? As you can see over here in this window, whenever I search for anything digital marketing course, you will always see the Google search engine page or Google search page. You will always see that Google search engine page will show 4 ads at the top of the page and 4 ads at the bottom of the page. Now if you can see first, second, third, fourth. If more people are bidding, rest ads will be visible over here. As you can see here right now, only 3 ads are being visible, but always there is an option to show 4 ads at the bottom side of the page and 4 ads at the top side of the page, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. Generally this happens depending on the ad rank, which we're going to learn in the near future. Why it's related to this top of the page rate and absolute top of the page rate? First, let's just understand that top of the page rate is nothing but the percentage of how many times your ad was visible on the top 4 ranking of the Google, which means whenever someone is going to search digital marketing course in New York, let's assume 1000 people search digital marketing course on the New York, but you were able to show your ads only to 100 people because you were out of the budget. Now out of those 100 people, already you are having an impression share of 10% here. If 1000 people will search for digital marketing course in New York and you show your ads, or Google will show your ads to the user approx 100 times, your impression share becomes 10%. Out of those 1000 people, if 100 people will see your ad, your impression share automatically becomes 10%. Now out of those 10%, we are going to calculate this top of the page rate. So this top of the page rate, guys, you can see over here, or the absolute top of the page rate which you see over here, this generally calculated from this impression share only, not from all the impressions which were there on the Google, which is 1000 people searching, because impression share is the total amount of impressions which we were able to show, or the total amount of impressions from my campaign I was able to share with other people around in the market on the Google search engine page. Now out of this 15% impression share, I am getting 86.89% times top of the page rate and 21.47% times absolute top of the page rate. Let's understand what is 86.89% top of the page rate. So whenever anybody is going to search your ads, let's say you will see the ads in top side of the Google, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'll see the ads similarly at the bottom side of the Google. Now whenever your ads are shown on the top side of the Google search engine page, any of the places, either 1, 2, 3, 4, you will be counted under top of the page rate. Again, let's take an example. 1000 people search for digital marketing course in New York. 100 people saw your ad, your impression share becomes 10%. Now out of those 10% impression share, we are going to calculate our top of the page rate. Now here, how many impressions we received? 100. We are going to forget about the total number of people who searched on Google about the digital marketing course in New York. We're going to talk about our impression share which we have received, which is 100 impression share. Now out of those 100 impression share, how many times my ad was shown on the Google search engine ranking page in any of these 4 top places. So whenever your ad was shown in any of these 4 top places, it can be at the first place, second place, third place, or fourth place. It should not be at the bottom of the page, which is this, or this. It should always be about on the top of the search engine ranking page, which is first, second, third, and fourth. If your ad was shown anywhere in all these 4 places, you will be counted under as top of the page rate. For example, out of those 100 impressions, 86.89% times or 86.89 times my ad was shown in any of these 4 rankings. That's why my top of the page rate becomes 86.89%. Okay, whenever my ad is shown in any of these 4 top rankings, that is considered under the top of the page rate. So top of the page rate is going to be the page rate or the percentage of times your ad was shown in any of these top 4 ad ranking on the Google. Now, let's just talk about what is absolute top of the page rate. Now, what is absolute top of the page rate is 21.47%. Absolute top of the page rate is always considered the first ad, how many times your ads was shown on the first page, on the first place of the Google. Out of these all four ads, which is all considered, under the top of the page rate, absolute top of the page rate is the ad which is shown at the first ranking of the Google. So this one is considered under the absolute top of the page rate. All these four are considered under the top of the page rate. Let's again with an example for the last time. Impression share is how many times we were eligible to show our ads compared to how many times our ad was actually shown on the Google. 1,000 people searched digital marketing course in New York in a day. Out of the 1,000 times, 100 times my ad was shown. My impression share becomes 10%. Out of those 100 people who saw my ad, we will calculate our top of the page rate and absolute top of the page rate, which means that out of the 100 times, how many times my ad was visible in any of these four ranking, which is the top four ranking on the Google search engine page. Okay, in these top four ads, how many times my ad was visible, that will be considered under the top of the page rate. Out of those 100 times, how many times my ad was shown at this first place of the Google, that will be considered under absolute top of the page rate. So how many times my ad was shown at this first place of the Google, that will be considered under absolute top of the page rate. Top of the page rate, any four places if my ad lands, that will be considered under top of the page rate. If my ad is ranking at the first place of the Google, which is the first ranking on the Google search for my ad, that will be considered under the absolute top of the page rate. So these are the major 3 points which we have to remember, we have to look for in our auction insights, that will give an idea about how our campaign is performing and how much volume is there in the markets. For example, if I can see that 15.34% time my ad was shown, which will tell me that there is enough of volume still in the market. So if I'm going to increase my budget, I will be able to cater further audience.